Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to bring you Nicholas Garr. How you doing, Nick?
Hey, Teresa, thank you so much for having me on the show. This is really thrilling. I love what you do, and being part of it is exciting for me. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I was excited to have you on today. I had the privilege of going over and looking at the Nurses Station, which is on YouTube for sure. And
Right.
I've subscribed to
Hmm.
your channel because it's quite
Thank you.
interesting. So we talked about you coming on the show. And let's start with, although we want to talk about the Nurses Station, let's talk about
Uh-huh.
you and what you've done so far and before this.
Certainly.
We'll talk about that.
Well, for, I was born and raised in the Bronx,
Okay.
so I developed an interest in the theater from doing, plays in school and all that. But that sort of thing was not really encouraged as much where I grew up. We did sports, and that was the kind of thing that was mostly pushed. But I did the sports too. Used to play ball. Used to do all the little league stuff. But I just enjoyed the theater, and so when I went into college, I told my dean that, listen, I wanted to kind of pursue the theater, but I didn't want to go for a theater degree. They were very, very accommodating. They let me work my class load so that I could go and study. And I began studying everything: theater, dance, voice, all that stuff. And I started to work pretty fast. So I had worked as a dancer. I did the West Side Story revival back in the 80s. We did it, I was on tour with that. And I just started to do mostly musicals. That's where I was able to get the work, most of the work.
Okay.
Some television, but mostly musicals. Um, and as time went on, I had gotten married, and I realized that I really needed something a little bit more steady and
Sure.
a little bit more of with health insurance that I could rely on. So what I did was I eventually went into nursing, because nursing had a little bit of flexibility. You didn't have, it wasn't a 9 to 5 kind of job. I could still pursue theatrical things here and there because I directed, I choreographed, I did a lot of different kinds of things in the theater, and it allowed me to do that. So I've been a nurse. I had been a nurse for, I think, about 16, 17 years, and then COVID hit,
Okay.
and and it was really pretty intense and very overwhelming. And I thought the way a lot of the medical staff was treated was not I was not for me. I had had enough of it, because we tend to um the whole cliche of being overworked and underpaid, and there's a tremendous emotional toll because you're dealing in life and death situations. Um, Depending on what department you work in, you can do a lot of patient facing work. And if you're a bedside nurse, that's your main thing. You are working with the patients. Um, Patients are sick, patients are dying. You build a bond, and you lose someone. It has an emotional toll.
Sure.
So COVID hit, and we were everything that may have read in the news about people dying, and it was overwhelming, and we had to set up morgues outside, was definitely true in my hospital. I don't think we were as protected as we should have been, because this was, remember, when COVID first hit, we didn't know what it was. We didn't know how it was transmitted. Symptoms were different in people. Some had more GI symptoms, some had respiratory symptoms, and it was like we couldn't put our finger on what it was, and it was pretty scary. And I would have patients that had that I had gotten in the morning and seemed to be okay, and by the end of my shift, they they had passed, and I
Oh,
was putting them in a body bag.
oh,
It was pretty intense. So I had done nursing for a while, and I thought, you know what? I think I've had enough of this kind of thing. So largely in response to that, I had developed a play about nurses. It kind of went around the COVID situation, but I also wanted to talk about what was happening behind the scenes, because everything that you see on television, in my opinion, was either focused on the doctors, or if there were nurse characters, they were only peripheral, or they were very much of a caricature,
Yeah.
because television needs to be dramatic, and it has to hold its audience episode after episode. So they pick these far out, almost bizarre kind of scenarios, and they give the nurse characters, yes, dramatic characteristics, but characteristics that aren't really representative of nursing as a whole. There are some shows where the nurse was addicted to drugs, or you know, I mean, does that happen? Sure, it does. But was that really the whole picture? Not even close. So I wanted to tell stories that really told the public what it was about. Because, I mean, I think at one point or another, we end up in a hospital, either as a visitor
Agreed.
or, as God forbid, as a patient. The population gets older, and is at some point we're going to need some kind of care. And I think the way the nursing profession is viewed is a very also archaic way. It's not just changing bedpans and you know washing people. The profession has definitely grown into much more uh, technical orientation. The education has to be much better. They do much more clinical things. They have to be able to assess situations. There's a lot more to it. I don't think a lot of the public thinks that. Also, another thing that's interesting is doctors and nurses is a shift in the stereotype, because stereotypically you think nurses as being female and you think doctors as being male. That is now changing,
Mhm.
where I would say easily half the doctors are female, and probably and it's approaching half the nurses are male. All that stereotypical perception of who is changing, and I wanted to reflect that in the stories I was telling. So I was getting ready to produce this play, and a friend of mine had suggested to make it a web series. I thought that would be great. So I turned this play into Nurses Station, because first of all, we could tell more stories, different kinds of stories, and we reach a much greater audience. As it is, we get hundreds of thousands of views on an episode. I wanted people to see, if they do go into a hospital, what goes on, because sometimes people go in and they have an expectation that is really not either realistic, or it's actually counter to what happens when you're in a hospital. Hospitals are run now not by medical people, they are run by business people who have experience, say, in hospitality, not in medicine. So a lot of times they present a hospital like a hotel, and it's not. People get upset if they didn't get their ice water on time. The same kind of expectations you would want in a hotel. It's a whole different thing. Trust me, the people who are working are not sitting around, and if they are sitting, they're charting. They're always working. So if something doesn't happen fast enough, I wanted to maybe explain to people what's going on. And that was the inspiration for the series. And that's what we do. We deal with ethical problems that nurses face. It's definitely a nurse centric story. They are the center of the stories. It's their relationship to patients. Sometimes patients are nice and there's a bond. Sometimes patients are not nice, because, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times nurses run into, I mean, people are sick, and they're scared, and there's all kinds of things,
Yeah.
and they can be abusive, and they take out their anxiety on the people who are trying to help them, hoping to maybe kind of, you know, give them a little more information that maybe that may change their perception or change how they would uh, behave in that kind of situation. So that's the whole purpose of Nurses Station, and also to give nurses a chance to give their point of view on things, because you're not seeing that in the popular literature. You're not seeing that on television. You're not seeing that in movies. You're seeing you know, the cliched nurse, and I wanted to try to get away from that. So that's what Nurses Station's about.
Nick, first I want to say thank you for your service, for all that time that you were a nurse. That's
Oh, thank you.
that absolutely, that's so important. I will say the nurses, the doctors, the hospitals, they're doing, I know, as you know, the best they can. And the patients that come in, you're absolutely right. They come in because they're scared or they need something, and they're not in the same, perhaps, normal environment. So their personalities may kind of alter because they are stressed and scared. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. I
Yeah.
try in the show. I try not to make anybody,
No, I understand. Yeah.
wrong.
Mhm.
There's reasons why people act a certain way. There's reasons why
Yeah.
patients may behave a certain way. There's reasons why nurses may behave or doctors behave a certain
Yeah.
way. Now, that's not to say that there aren't bad doctors or bad nurses, or because I mean every profession has, different kinds of people in it. But in my experience, the way majority of the time, it's because they're not given the right amount of support. They have to be in five places at once. They have to prioritize. So sometimes getting this person a medication is more important than giving this person tea, or a hot blanket. And that person's wait, hey, I've called like
Yeah.
45 minutes ago. No
Yeah.
one's come yet. Well, there's a reason for that, because one of our catchphrases is it's not a hotel. We'd love to make everyone happy and make everyone comfortable. That's
Yeah.
what we do. But there are also life and death situations.
Yeah, of course.
And
I
and
would
people,
also
yeah.
say, as you bring this forward, I think it's a very good thing you did, because we don't know. The public does not know what a nurse goes through. We don't know what the doctors are going through. We don't know what the administration's going through. We don't know any of it. So the staffing that's there, and that may also include the cleaning staff, the cooks,
Oh, absolutely.
so
Everyone.
yes,
Everyone.
we and I by my own admission have been in hospitals. I don't know. All I can think about is how does this affect me? And it's unfortunate
Mhm.
because we do get that sort of exasperated feeling. And you're right. Now, I've always, and I truly mean this, I think most people try to be as understanding and caring to the staff, and we appreciate, and I have much gratitude, believe me, because I've been in hospitals as well, and I've had family members in hospital. I
Yeah.
have the greatest gratitude for the nursing staff. There is no doubt about it. In fact, I try to engage with them because I know they're just doing the best they can. And sometimes, people lapse their emotions because they are in situations. We've done it in other situations too, perhaps at a store, you didn't get something you wanted, and you think,
Right.
oh, why did I get all upset? So, there's certainly both sides, but Nick, what you're doing, I think,
Absolutely.
is really good. It tells the public this is what nurses are truly going through. And once you get that perception, you're able to say, oh, okay, now I understand. And maybe the next time you go to the hospital, you'll be more appreciative.
That's the hope. That is absolutely the hope. That is part of it. And I mean, to sum it up in a nutshell, it gives the nurses a voice of
Yeah.
what's happening on their end, and it gives hopefully an explanation to people who don't know what it's like working behind the scenes, and maybe, God forbid they're in that situation, they
Yeah.
may have a little bit more understanding.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. It's very complicated. Listen, hospitals are a business. I mean, there's no getting around that. And because it's a business, and people, and they're owned by corporations that want to make money, it's about, you want to spend as little as possible to make as much as possible. So the downside for
So
us,
if I might interject there,
go
you're in
ahead.
United States and I'm in
Hmm.
Canada. So just
Oh,
so people know, the Canadian system is different than the United States system. So I
Yeah.
need to clarify that right here, because
Okay.
the privatization in the United States is certainly different than what we have in Canada. So for our Canadian viewers, we're still discussing the nurses and their responsibilities and things like that, same up here, but just understand that the systems are different, okay?
Yes, that is. I didn't realize you were in Canada. Yeah,
That's
thanks for
okay. I just
clarifying
wanted to
that.
clarify that, Nick.
Yeah. And certainly in the United States, because of the
Mhm.
fact that it is run like a business, they try to, I mean, they understandably, in some ways, want to not spend as much as they feel they need to, but that ends up falling on the frontline people because they're the ones who have less to work with, less less staff. You know, one of the things that we're nurses fight for are patients ratios, meaning a nurse can't have more than a set number of people depending on the department. ICU shouldn't have more than two patients. Some places try to get away with four patients per nurse, and that's a lot. I mean, if there's things happening at the same time,
Mhm.
ooh, that runs into a very, very rough situation. And I've been in situations where you've had patients um, get in an emergency. We call it a code when someone either their breathing has stopped, their heart has stopped, whatever. And you can't be everywhere, and that's hard. So I'm trying to show some of these situations in this series. It's different than what you might see on television. Television is geared towards the ultra, what I call the melodramatic. It's
Sure.
it's it's, and again, there's some truth in those things. Absolutely, it's by and large. I try to tell the stories that you're going to see mostly every day, which is challenging because on the one hand, it's always very dramatic and there's always a lot of things going on, but it's not that over the top stuff that you're going to see in on a lot of television shows.
Right, right.
So it's that's the challenge of making the show, keeping it interesting, keeping it uh exciting to watch
Yeah.
without crossing that line into the melodrama. So that's the challenge of
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, it's well done, Nick. Honestly, well done. And what is your role in this now? Tell us what your title is for the role. I not necessarily the acting side when you produce
Well,
the film.
well, I direct the episodes and I write the episodes.
Okay, you do
and
right.
and I play a regular character in the episodes. My producer Eliana Gonzalez, who's terrific and helps coordinate the actors and help casting. But having been a nurse, I'm also a technical advisor
Yeah.
because I want to make sure that it's absolutely accurate. All the equipment is used accurately. I mean, even the television shows don't always do that. They make lots of mistakes where a particular device is used wrong, or a
Oh,
stethoscope is put on the wrong way, or something like that. Because I mean, I don't know what they. I'm sure they have advisors, but sometimes things get by.
yeah.
I'm on the set all the time and I make sure that everything is used properly because I don't want a medical person to look at it and go, nah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
nah, we don't do that, or we don't use it that way. Everything is used and done exactly the way we really do use the equipment. So that's another thing. I want it to be authentic.
That's important
Um,
because you're
that's
doing
really
such a
important.
serious. Now, how is the show going? How about funding, things like that? Are you looking
Well, we're
at that?
Well, we're doing, I mean, in a lot of ways, we're doing very well. We've
Okay,
just,
good.
we have 10 episodes out. We were just screened at the Big Apple Film Festival,
Okay,
which is, very prestigious kind of thing to have happen, to be
good.
accepted into that. So on that front, it's doing great. We've got quite a few subscribers and a lot of views, I see comments. You could tell they're nurses by what they say,
Yeah.
and they're all very supportive of it. That part is great. But like anything now in the arts, funding is very, very important. Um, we're trying to get some foundation support but individuals have been generous and they've given, because it's produced through a nonprofit company. Any contribution is tax deductible. So we're always fundraising. That's a constant. That's a constant thing with an artistic endeavor in our position. Funding is very important.
Yeah, I
So yeah, I love it when people come and they see the show and they like it, and they give a little something to it.
understand.
Every little bit helps.
Oh, good. Okay, I wanted to make sure. I figured that you probably were doing funding and a lot of,
Oh, constantly,
yeah, a
yes.
lot of my artists on here do. And so I wanted to make sure
Yeah,
that we made them aware of that. And I'll put it in the show notes how they can go ahead and help you, Nick.
I'd appreciate that. Yes, please. If they can take a look at it, and when they see the show, if they can go to we have the company has a website because we
Sure.
do teaching and other things, not just Nurses Station. But the contributions right now, Nurses Station is our premier project, and the funding mostly goes to that.
So is that the only, so I know you're doing this, you're bringing this forward today, and I'm thrilled to be able to do that. Are you working on any other projects right now, Nick?
Right now, looking into doing the play that I mentioned,
Yes?
which again was the springboard for the Nurses
Yeah.
Station series. It's called right now. The working title is 100 Lives, because there's a saying that says, if you save one life, you're a hero. If you save 100 lives, you're a nurse. That's an old
Okay.
meme. So that's our working title.
Okay.
And I'm looking on developing the stage play,
Okay.
and hopefully, tour it in colleges
Right.
and nursing schools maybe, because it's
Oh,
it's it's a live action, and there's no plays about nurses at all.
no,
There's none.
not that
I
I
mean,
know
and
of, that's for sure.
there are older plays that involve doctors. There are some plays now that are out, I've seen produced, that concentrate on doctors. But again, the nurse patient relationship, I haven't seen anything, not a thing. So I thought it was be really interesting. That's the other project that we're working on.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that. I like
Yeah,
that very
yeah.
much. Now, if you were to say 5 years out, Nick, what's the plan? What are you doing?
The plan is for Nurses Station. The more we can do, and I'm hoping to get the funds to a increase the length of the episodes, because right now they average about 5-6 minutes, which
Okay.
is really kind of short, but that's what we can afford to do.
Yeah.
I would like to make it like a format of a network show, where it's
Okay.
at least 25-30 minutes long,
Right.
like a standard television show. Um, and I would like to increase our viewership, because I think it has an important message. And if it's the kind of thing that a larger group wants to take on to help produce, like for Apple TV or Netflix or something like that, that would be the high end goal of this. But just keeping it going, and because the more episodes we do, the more different topics we can touch,
Right.
and it starts to develop a life of its own, in terms of, YouTube helps fund things that have viewership, and the content keeps growing. So I'm hoping to do that, because I think it deals with an important subject matter. So just to give it legs, and if it grows into something that happens that a larger platform would like, so much the better. That would be great. Right now, actually, we're being used as the springboard for topics in ethics classes.
Oh,
So an
that's
ethics class,
interesting.
we'll play an episode, because they all deal with ethical problems.
Oh, okay.
For example, one of the problems is that an elderly patient, is very sick, and really doesn't want anything special done. They don't want to have special resuscitation. They don't want to be put on any kind of vents. They don't want anything special done. They just want to, their life cycle to play out. But the family members don't want that, which is the same thing nurses see all the time.
Sure.
Um, and how ethical is that? You know, we're
That's
people
interesting
who,
that you can bring it forward, Nick.
yeah, what is the ethical thing to do in a case like that? Do we keep people going who their quality of life is not good, and in some cases they have the mental capacity to still make their own decisions, and they don't want certain things done, and when they hit a, a finally hit a spot where they can't communicate anymore, other people take over and they overturn their wishes. I've seen
Oh,
that happen. So we have an
that's
episode that
interesting.
deals with that. Yeah,
Oh,
it's that
that,
sort of thing. It's that sort of thing.
and you'd
And
be
I don't
dealing
know
with, sorry, Nick, you'd be dealing with huge emotions on that, on both sides, right?
all these things. Like we said earlier, people come into a hospital
Yeah,
and they're not well. Family members, the emotions run high. They're hit with situations they never discussed before. Um, so if someone doesn't want extra procedures done on them
yeah,
to prolong their life, if they've made that clear, and that's happened, they call it, it's a DNR. They don't want to, do not resuscitate. They want a DNR. They do not want to be resuscitated. They become unconscious or they become not able to communicate. Family members come in and say, no, I want everything done to keep them alive. That wasn't the wishes of the person. And do you really want someone that you love to be sick and not be able to do anything, and just keep them in a hospital bed? I mean, that's totally a judgment call, but sometimes there are patients who know they didn't want that and they have their wishes overturned, but they're not in a position to fight back.
that's very
And I think,
interesting, Nick.
yeah, that has happened. I've seen that happen. It's traumatizing to, I think, to the patient, but also to the healthcare staff. I know nurses.
Mm,
It's very difficult when they're the ones caring for these people day after day, hour after hour. They have to clean them, they have to
right,
move them, they have to make sure that they're comfortable, and the people are just at least from the outside looking in, quality of life is gone.
yeah.
Yes, they're breathing, their heart's pumping, but you know, would you really want that? It, again, that's a judgment call, but sometimes those wishes have been made clear by these people before they've hit this stage, and family members who don't, for whatever reason, don't want to let them go, overturn these things, and these people. It's not oftentimes from the point of view of the healthcare provider. These people are suffering because their quality of life is gone. Oftentimes they can't breathe on their own, they can't eat on their own, they can't go to the bathroom on their own, they can't move.
Mhm. It's,
It's like to what end? This is not like someone who's going to get better.
yeah, it's
So
a difficult time in anyone's life. I agree with you. And for the family, it's devastating. And
it's
so you're
it's
right,
very
it's
hard
all
for
a
the family.
judgment call. I agree with that. And no one, there is no answer, is there? There's just something that
No,
has to play out the way it has to, be. And
it's
it's so
yeah,
unfortunate when we have to face those decisions. It's really unfortunate.
it's
And I agree,
very
you wouldn't think
difficult.
of it from the nurse's side, but that's, again, you're bringing the nurse's view, and that's incredible. I think that's a service well done as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. And yes, I, very often that point of view is not taken into consideration. I mean, I don't see that being as part of what a family member would take into
Sure,
consideration.
sure.
But but
But it's real, isn't it?
as an outsider looking in, you're seeing a person suffer is what it
Yeah,
looks like, from a
yeah,
dispassionate point of view,
yeah.
because there's no hope of getting better. And, often these people are very elderly. They can have dementia, in which case they don't know where they are, and oftentimes they get their anxiety is up because they don't know what's going on. Sometimes it's worse where they do know what's going on and they can't communicate, or they
Can't
can't
express it. Yeah.
move, or oh my gosh, I can't imagine what that's like.
And it
So
and it
yes,
is it's
it's a point
human
of view.
nature, I think, to sit in judgment. We don't mean to, but I think that's what happens, right? And it's hard for everyone, I think, in those situations.
Well, I mean, judgment, I don't know if judgment's the right word for that, really. But I think there's a lack of total information
Oh,
sometimes
fair enough. Yeah.
for because, for example, if you have an elderly person, I'm going to say elderly in their 90s, because elderly that line keeps getting pushed, right? People in their 80s used to be considered elderly, now that eight people living longer.
Mhm.
So if someone is in to be resuscitated, the usual procedure is say their heart stops. Well, the first thing that happens is you give chest compressions. That's just normal procedure. You can't shock them, especially if they're flatlined. The heart can only be shocked under certain circumstances.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not any it's not any circumstance.
Yeah, we watch it on
So
television. We think it's every time, right?
no, it's not. It's
Mm.
not. If someone is a literally if their heart stops and they're flatline, we can't do anything. You shocking them is not. You won't do anything. You have to. You in a healthy person, you could restart it by doing the chest compressions. You do this on a 90-year-old person, and I've done it on a 90. Every bone, every rib shatters. Like it's like pressing on a bag of potato chips. And this person is, if they do survive, is going to be living with, I mean, their ribs will be broken, breathing is going to be painful. It's pretty unpleasant, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that, and I don't think it's adequately explained to them what is entailed in reviving somebody. So I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration, and it's a very, very difficult call to make.
I commend you
So
for bringing all of this forward in a developing show that's going to bring such a delicate subject to the forefront and help the public understand what nurses go through. I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing. I want to say that, Nick.
thank you. I guess that's why I'd like to try to keep it going. As I said, we had 10 episodes that deal with 10 different
Yeah.
scenarios, but there's so many. And I'd like to continue with more stories. And as I said, expand it so that A, episodes are longer like a regular television show, and
Yeah.
also we can do a regular season with this with a good number of episodes per season. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
Beautiful.
That's the goal.
Nick, thank you for today. I wondered, so if someone wanted to reach out to you right now, what would be the best place to get you?
Um, just I'll give you our email address.
Sure.
They would be it's the production email address. It's through City Theater Project, which is the company that produces Nurses Station. So I could definitely be reached that way.
Perfect.
That would be the best way if you want to send me a note. I like to. There'll be a link, I'm sure, towards to the channel and also to the company website because in addition to Nurses Station, we do other things. So, and if they'd like to contribute, there's a contribution page. We'll have a link to that also.
Perfect.
So
I'll make sure all
there'll
of
be
that's in.
several ways to get in touch with us.
I'll make sure it's all in the show notes for you, Nick, as
Thank
we
you, Teresa.
discussed at
I
the
appreciate that.
beginning of the show.
Thanks for your help. Thank you for your support. It's always it's invaluable, and I do appreciate it very
Oh,
much.
my pleasure, truly. In any way I can help you, even in a small way, to move forward and to bring this message out, that I think it's commendable what you're
Yeah,
doing, and I'm
thank
very
you.
grateful.
The cast and crew is
Well,
terrific. Elia Gonzalez, who's one of our producers, is our lead producer is tremendous, and just I'll give them a shout out
do
too.
it all. You're welcome to do them
Yeah,
all.
they're great. The list will be long. But thank you. Jack Furtado is our primary is our director of photography. Um, and the cast rotates depending on what the story is.
Beautiful. Oh, okay, great. I'll make sure that that's on here too, because when we're promoting people, the work involved is unbelievable. So well
Yeah,
done. And to all your actors and for yourself and for producers and directors and screenwriters, everybody that's doing it all, it's a lot of work and I understand that. So
yeah.
kudos to all of you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. So, Nick, thank you again to everyone. This is Nicholas Garr. Go ahead. I'm going to have his webpage here, all his information. I'm going to have a few things on our social media so you'll be able to connect with Nick at any time that you want. If you're interested in helping promote the show, we're going to make sure you can get over to Nick. And if you just get to me, I'm happy to get the information over to Nick. Thank you again, Nick. To everyone else,
Cool.
this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye now.